On Friday, in East Chicago, Indiana, Councilman Robert Battle was sworn into office for a second term. But instead of the mayor conducting the ceremony, it was an unnamed official. And instead of City Hall, the venue was the county jail, the inside of the county jail, inside of a cell. That's because Battle was just reelected to his council seat in November. He's locked up on murder and drug charges filed by the federal government. Sasha, this sounds like something from a film, but I'm not joking. This councilman who's in jail was just sworn under oath from his jail cell. He could have conducted the ceremony via video conference or Skype or something, but he decided they wanted them to come, and so he can put his hand on the Bible and do it from jail cell. What do you think, Sasha?
So what we're starting to see here, and I think this is probably the most blatant example of it, is the fact that it's absurd that in our political system, elected officials have to be asked to resign and they have to choose to do that because this man is in jail for like felony charges.
Yeah.
He got caught with 73 grams of weed, more than $100,000 in cash.
To mention he killed a man.
Right. He's, facing potential murder charges.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I'm not going to resign. I'm just gonna ride this out, keep collecting the salary and see how things go.
Yeah, he's getting like $40,000 plus salary while in jail. For all of you watching out there who are wondering how the hell is this possible, I'll explain a little bit. It still won't make sense because the story will never make sense to anyone, but let me try my best. So he ran, unopposed. Okay, so obviously he wasn't running against anybody. The seat was kind of given to him because he was the only person running. Of course, he wasn't able to vote for himself because he didn't take the time to file an absentee ballot.
Of course not.
He's in jail. So look, he ran unopposed. He got 308 votes in a city of about 30,000. So you then think, well, why the hell would even 8 people, let alone 308 people, vote for this man? Well, a lot of people just don't know. A lot of people just don't watch the news. They don't know who he is. It doesn't say on the ballot there, this man is in jail on federal drug and murder charges. It doesn't say that. So a lot of people will just vote, he's the only guy up there, so why not? So that's basically how this happened. It beats me how in the state of Indiana, there's absolutely no rules that say if you're in jail for murder, you're not automatically, exempt from being able to run for any sort of office, So that blows my mind. That's the part that I'll just never understand.
Well, you also have to take into consideration, too, where East Chicago is situated in Indiana. You have it's, just miles from Chicago, right next to Gary, Indiana, which is a notoriously economically depressed area. Mm-hmm. Chicago is riddled with political corruption, as we're seeing with all the calls for resignation for Rahm Emanuel. And so East Chicago, you're saying that less, like 300 people voted for this guy. That's voter apathy. These are people that probably aren't getting a lot of their news sources from like a local newspaper because it's probably too small. They probably don't have the resources to actually cover these sorts of stories. So they're getting it from the news on television. And this is all coming from, probably riddled with Chicago stories of, corruption and Laquan McDonald dying and these sorts of things. So of course they're just gonna, be like, oh, okay, well, this guy, he's running. He already did a term successfully. Why not just vote for him again, especially if he's running unopposed? He must be doing his job somewhere,
Yeah. And you go back to 2010, there's other instances where even mayors, for example, were running and they were elected even though they had extremely crazy charges themselves. Mayor George Pabby, who's a Democratic mayor, back in 2010 in Indiana, he was convicted of conspiracy and theft of government funds and sentenced to 5 years in prison as well. There's a lot more of these examples. I'm not going to get into them, but this just goes to show the pattern continues.